This would be the last warning for the month of February because today is the last trading day for the month of January, and there's plenty to discuss here for Bitcoin on the higher term timeframes, namely the 5-day and the monthly are going to be the focus of today's video. I will go over the other side, the bullish side, I suppose, at the end of this video. There are a couple things there, as there always will be, but ultimately the picture is really starting to come clear here as Bitcoin is about to set in the next monthly in 15 hours, 58 minutes, and 10 seconds, which is going to solidify a lot of the analysis that we've been looking at throughout the month of January now. So let's just jump right into this one, starting off right over here with a look at the monthly statistics. And first things first, Bitcoin has experienced 1, 2, 3, 4, working on number 5 straight green months, or straight cyan months, straight positive months that we've seen. Basically since September, it's been only green the whole way through on the monthly. Now, keeping in mind that Bitcoin probably will close green again for the end of today, which would essentially be done as long as Bitcoin closed above 42,279.67 cents on the index. Then that would be month number 5 of green. Why is this relevant? Well, if we were to look at all of the months in Bitcoin's history, throughout the full damn history right here, we would see that on average, whenever a green month is printed, it usually leads to an average of, well, a total of 3 green months before a red month, as you can see right here. That is what these statistics are saying. And if we were to look at the maximum amount of green months we've ever seen in a row, it would be 7. So again, assuming that today is going to mark, very likely month number 5, I'd say that we're pretty damn close to that. In fact, if we were to look at this from a percentile format, if we were to look at the 84th percentile, then 6 months would be kind of where that cutoff is. So that would imply that, hey, we are very much in outlierish land here. I mean, it's certainly above the average at this point, working on month number 5. And if we get towards month number 6, just the likelihood of continuing to see green in February, I do believe does get diminished. Anyways, we can take that one step further and just say, hey, look, the monthly as it is right now has two long legs or two long shadows, whatever the fuck you want to call it, on both sides. You might even call it a doji doodle right there, which is a signal of indecision and perhaps even reversal, especially after, a pretty tremendous run like this. Again, putting things in perspective, I mean, Bitcoin's been basically straight vertical for a more than a 2x move since September without any real major corrections, like no real major corrections on any meaningful time frames here. So what am I trying to say? February is looking like a damn good opportunity for a nice correction. The question is, how far do things come down? But before we get into that topic, I do want to go over here to the monthly HPDR bands. Again, 15 hours, 55 minutes, and 42 seconds now left to go. And it is looking like a rejection of the median. Typically, after we see a rejection of the median, probably explore the bottom side of the blue 50% of historic returns range lows somewhere in here. Again, it's pretty damn deep as of right now. It's all the way at 27,000 bucks. I don't think Bitcoin's coming back down around there. I do think worst case scenario is actually 28,000 for the reasons that we spoke about 2 Saturdays ago, if you still want to cycle back to those videos. But in this case, the monthly probably does play out some downside. Again, assuming that today closes something like this, especially below 43,000 bucks, that really does start to look like a rejection of this area right here. On top of that, we can go look at CME's chart, same indicator right here, rejection of the top side, 50% of historic returns range highs, typically does beget that test of the median. Again, this would be Senor Bing and Mr. Bong. And Mr. Bong is currently at 35,070 on CME. So again, these numbers will likely change around coming into February open, but it would be a likely move to see at least a test down, down around there. I think that's kind of like best case scenario. That's like the best worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is obviously 0, but it's very low probability. But if we go back on over here, the worst legitimate scenario, I'd say, would be a test of the bottom side of the blue 50% range lows. Again, that probably moves up coming into February's open. I would imagine probably somewhere around 28,000 bucks, which aligns with several other things that we have. It's kind of like a worst case scenario over the next 2 to 3 months here as Bitcoin works its way into the halving. Now, on top of that, I do want to reference this chart as well. This is the 5-day chart. We've gotten yet another update on it. In fact, actually, we should go back on over here first and look at it on the bands and we can see that the bands are still showing the median right around 44,500. So, in the short term, or maybe even early February, does Bitcoin maybe get one more try up towards 44,500 bucks? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not out of the question. That's why we've been very, very patient on this channel. At least I've been hoping to be patient as possible. As early February, if Bitcoin wants to try and move back around there, 44,500 bucks, fine. As long as Bitcoin is below it now on a 5-day closing time frame scale, downside is the most likely thing. Maybe in middle to end of February, as we've been saying. But it's all kind of, matching up for that, I suspect. Even Bitcoin basically below 46,000 bucks, I look at it as overall likely to continue on with the overall correction significantly deeper into the $30,000 territory. But yes, going back on over here, I wanted to reference the 5-day volatility versus stochastic momentum setup. We just got another tick on this one, obviously, and 5-day volatility is now at extreme lows. 1.59 percentile to be exact, which is some of the lowest levels that we've seen in a while, certainly since October. And that accompanied by the 5-day stochastic oscillator, which is having a downside disposition as of right now, and will continue with its downside disposition as long as Bitcoin's below 47,850, which, by the way, that pivot went up from yesterday's closure to today's open. It used to be around 47,000 even. Now it actually went up to 47,850. So what does that mean? It means, again, as long as Bitcoin is below even that pivot, all of this is to be considered corrective and likely to lead towards a later, a greater correction. Again, that does imply that Bitcoin can still rally it up very, very easily to 44,500 bucks. I even think 45,000 bucks is completely fine as well. Above 46 is where I start to say, hey, no, this is bullish as fuck. All of the, all of these price sentiments are just incorrect, and it's full bulls. Balls to the walls at that point. But again, less likely. As long as volatility is this low, do have to pay attention to the 5-day stochastic oscillator, because the direction that it is positioned in has a very high probability to follow through for a pretty significant move, an average move that we've seen from this particular setup of around 40% over the course of just over a month as well. So that would be probably most of February once it does fire off. Now, it is not fired off just yet. It can base here for a while. So that does imply that the most bullish thing for Bitcoin here in February would be to base off at these lows, not expand, and just kind of hold the range between about 46 to the upside versus 39 to the downside. And if it did that until like the end of February, I would look at that as very, very bullish. But it's a long way left to go. And until then, I'm just going to be generally more angled towards the downside. Anyways, moving on from there. What else do we have? Yeah, we also do see that on the daily time frame right here. Let me just take away that damn thing. There is hidden bearish divergence forming between this high on the 16th of January and this potential high that we did see basically kind of put in yesterday. What would confirm this as a local high, thus confirming it as hidden bearish divergence, thus confirming Bitcoin likely comes back down, to 40,000 or a little bit below there in the more near term? Well, any sort of a daily closure below 42,250 would do it for me. At that point, this gets confirmed as a local high. Very likely we do see a move back down somewhere around at least the bottom side of the daily Gaussian channel. Until then, doesn't really give us too much. And again, the top side is currently at 44.8, so kind of in alignment with the median band on the 5-day time frame. Until then, I would still be cognizant that there might be one more try to the upside. There still might be one more try to the upside. But yeah, as we've been going over many other things, which I probably won't go over on this video because we're already a little bit short on time, do still point to the downside, but I will present the other side as well. Of course, there's always going to be, some indications for, the other side, depending upon whether you're like bullish or bearish. But what I would bring up is, one, the February statistics that we went over 2 days ago with regards to February, which February is actually the most likely month for Bitcoin to close positively. And so that kind of speaks for itself. And it does have pretty nice returns as well at about 20, I think it was like 23, 24%. But yeah, I mean, again, these are statistics, like doesn't mean it's always gonna be like that, but we've only seen 3, I believe it was 3, maybe it was 4, but I think it was 3 negative Februarys in Bitcoin's history. As far as this indicator goes, however, the accumulation distribution indicator, there's something pretty damn interesting here. So I've marked off with the green horizontal bar where our current trajectory is on the accumulation distribution indicator. And I've also marked off that exact same point throughout Bitcoin's history, every time that it's hit that region for the first time after switching from red to green. And all of those prior times has led to the next month, in many cases, the next few months being massively fucking green. This was essentially preceding your breakout in 2020 to new all-time highs above $20,000. This one over here again preceded the breakout above the 2013, 2014 highs. Again, massive fucking girthy green dildos right there. And same thing over here, very, very close at least. This one preceded, it still took about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, but the next month was green. So, looking at these, it does make me consider that, okay, there is always an argument for the other side, but I think really at this point it's starting to be limited to this and then the February statistics, which... fair enough. I do think that there's just more weight on the downside here. Again, if I didn't see Bitcoin break down before like end of February, okay, that would be that would be pretty fucking bullish. But until then, short-term rallies still to 44.5 or maybe even $45,000 are fine. But ultimately, downside does seem to be a little more likely here. Again, Bitcoin went fucking straight vertical for the past 5 months. Like it went up 100%. Like it's not that crazy to be looking for a pullback. On the monthly here for CME, like back down to 35 is not out of the question at all. If things get really crazy, okay, yeah, maybe we see $28,000. But ultimately, long term, still probably bullish. The thing is that if Bitcoin did come down to even 35, I'm sure you're going to get people who are like, okay, we have the next Elliott wave to $10,000. Ha 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 ha. It's like, all right, great. Or the biggest bull trap of all time, which fair enough. You have a very interesting definition of bull trap. But I think we'll leave things right there before I piss off too many other people. Again, it's kind of a nuanced situation here because like for the last year, it's pretty easy to just generally be looking for upside. I think in this particular portion right here, it's becoming a little bit more nuanced and delicate because Bitcoin can pull out a pretty major pullback, remain bullish on the higher term time frames. So yeah, just a long way of saying as long as Bitcoin's below $46,000, all rallies are just that. Or all bounces are just that, bounce before going lower. If Bitcoin does start to trade above and close above $46,000, that's where I would invalidate or more importantly, validate upside. Probably north of $50,000, probably to $52,000, $53,000. So yes, great area to be leaving off on this particular video. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love. And I forgot to do it, but if you do find this content valuable, please do consider subscribing. It does really help out the channel. And it actually really does help out the channel, which is cool. Because if the channel makes more money, then I can pay more money to editors and they can make better shit, basically. So that would be nice. Anyways, signing off on that note, take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.